Hi guys, it's SJ. I'm a baby name consultant if you don't know me already, and I've been researching some brand new to you, new to me, nicknames as first names for boys, because this trend is still everywhere. These classic, timeless, vintage boy names, but with a fun nickname, so it's just that little bit less formal. So you'll know Teddy's after Edwards, there's Theo at the moment going right up the charts for Theodore, there's a million Albies, there's a load of Archies, there's just so many in the top 100 at the moment. So if you're having a baby boy, I bet you've got one on your list. So I wanted to find some more rare ones that you might want to list as well. So listen along, add any more in the comment section below, and do hit subscribe if you are naming a baby. You need to have my baby name videos in your life. I've done so many on every single theme, and there is a girl version of this list already done, which I'll link in the description box. So I'm going to ease you in with a safe bet, but a rare one. It's the name Howie. So Howie is not back at all, and I love it, and actually probably Bowie ranks higher than Howie, but I think it is so lovely, that IE ending that is really popular for our girls and our boys, and for a lot of good reasons, that it just sounds soft, informal, fun, playful, and those are all the trends that modern parents prefer. But then the longer form Howard, I'm not minding. I'm getting back into Howard a little bit. I always think of Howard from Take That. Howard Donald, he had a shocker of a name, didn't he? But it means chief guardian. There were only 10 babies named Howard last year, so you would be getting something really different, and Howard is not that different from having an Edward who goes by Teddy, but you've got the Howard who goes by Howie. You're a little bit more daring. Wilf did the rounds a few years ago. It's actually already going a tiny bit out of style, so it could be a bit fast fashion, but I really love it. It's at number 829, and this would definitely hit my list if I was having another baby, Wilf, but I already had a Freddie. So I was like, oh, I don't think I could have a Wilf and a Freddie. But with Winifred rising through the charts as well, I think Wilf will keep up there. It's quite high already. Wilfred is at 145, so I think most people are going for Wilfred, and then Wilf just by itself is at 829, but it's really traditional, really fun, and hits a lot of things that you like. Kit, traditionally the nickname for Christopher, is getting used a lot by itself. It's about 192 in the UK, so gone from being a bit of a rare name to actually a very well used one, a kind of an alternative to Jack, to be honest. It means baby fox as well, which a lot of people don't know. I'm surprised about, I don't know why, I feel like that's a really obvious thing to know. But I loved Kiddo that somebody used from the consultancy. Last week I mentioned it as well, because it was just so, I was like, that's perfect, like an Otto. And there were 5 babies named Kiddo last year, so who knew? But I loved for the long form of it, rather than Christopher, if you did still want that combination of a longer name, you could do Casimir. It's new to the scene, Casimir. There were only 4 babies named it last year. I think it's a Persian name originally, and it comes up as meaning proclaimer of peace. So somebody who proclaims and speaks about peace. Sometimes it says destroyer of peace. I don't know if somebody changed it to proclaimer to make it a bit more positive, but I just absolutely love Casimir. I think it sounds so trendy. Casimir with the nickname Kit or Kitto, very cool. Ozzy, there were 63 boys just named Ozzy last year. I'm sure you've heard of it. It does feel quite rock and roll. We liked Ozzy with the S a little bit when we were naming Freddie, but Ozzy is really cool. What I love is you've got Oswald as your longer name as well. There were only 14 babies named Oswald last year, and it really works. It's a really cool vintage name. You've kind of gone out of style with that really rock and roll nickname. My favourite on this list, I think, is Rye. I really love it because of the grain. The grain actually makes beer and whiskey, so I reckon we can sell it in to a few of the reluctant dads, Rye. But I love it like that. I love the place Rye as well. It just takes me right out into nature, which I love, but it could be a short form for Riley, which is quite popular and mainstream, or you could do it as a short form for Griffin, which is a vintage name. It gets a bit underused. It's really cool, obviously if you're a Harry Potter fan. Griffin, but with the nickname Rye, works really well. Then you've also got Griff, you've also got Finn, you've got so many nicknames you can go with Griffin. A bit of an outsider choice. For Arthur, which is really popular in the UK, right up in our top 10 and going to keep around, I think, you could just go with the nickname Artie. And I really like seeing that just the nickname is being used. There were actually 40 boys just christened Artie last year, and I think it is so lovely. It makes me think of Simon and Garfunkel. Does it? Why? I can't figure out why. Is he called Art Garfunkel? Oh my gosh. Anyway, I really like it. Pip is a cute one. There were 16 boys called Pip last year, christened as Pip. There was also 5 girls. It's got this connotation where its meaning is like lover of horses. So if you're really into horses, or maybe My Little Ponies, then you could go with Pip. Can use it for Philip. I think you could also use it for Parker. If Philip just really isn't floating your boat, you could use Parker, which is a bit more popular. Actually, Parker's been used for boys and girls at the moment, so another great gender neutral choice. Jonty, I really like Jonty. I don't know, some people think this is quite posh, like I'm very upper class, which I don't get from it. I get kind of like quite playful and fun, like a Monty, but Jonty. I just think it's really fun. There were 20 boys named Jonty last year, so it's actually being used. If Jonathan isn't sort of your favourite, obviously if it comes through the family, then you want to play around with the nickname, you could do Jonty. But you could also do Jonas, which I really like, which has got more surname as first name vibes, or Jonah, obviously any of those for a Jonty. Sandy is so cool. I'm really loving it for a boy. I don't love it so much for a girl, but I love it for a boy. Just think it's that getting outdoor vibes on the beach. You know, Ellen Fisher has a little boy called Sandy. Obsessed with her, obviously, and it's an official nickname for Alexander. So Alexander actually comes up on a lot of lists still. It's quite a popular name still. But for Sandy as a first name, it was 4 boys and 4 girls named Sandy. So absolutely in the middle. Cass as a short name for Casper, obviously could be for Casimir that I talked about earlier, but I had to have Casper on this list. Cass means treasure. I think it's really trendy, Cass. There were 17 boys named just Cass last year. Marty is quite popular at the moment. I've seen it on quite a few name lists. People really liking it. I think it's a Marty McFly thing. It's really rising at the moment. There were 27 babies named Marty last year. So obviously it's for Martin. I did find another name in this. I was looking for vintage boy names, found the name Morton. I thought that's cool because it means from the moor. But then I was thinking it sounds a bit like post-mortem. I was like, oh, not sure. Actually, of my own one. So maybe you'd have to stick with Martin or just go Marty. How about Del? Do you reckon we can bring Del back for? It's so funny because it makes you think of like Del Boy and those, but actually when you hear it brand new, you're like, actually that's a great name, really nature name. Della is popular for girls again, so how about Del? No one's using it, but I thought it could be a really cool nickname as first name for Aldous, like Aldous Huxley, the author, then he goes by Del. Could be really trendy, really different way of using this trend for the nickname for vintage name. Rollo, there were 13 boys christened Rollo last year. Is it one you've ever thought of? With the O, it really works, and it's a lot like Oliver actually, which is our number 1, or Ollie. You could jump onto Rollo. It's traditionally a nickname for Roland. Roland is starting a little bit of a comeback. It's only 22 boys were named Roland last year, but it's not too bad, Roland. It could also be a nickname for Harold. Again, not too bad. 25 babies were named Harold last year. Which would you prefer, Roland or Harold? I mean, they sound really cute names for like cats and they're so vintage still, but I reckon all of these, give it a couple of years. You know, we thought Arthur was odd 10 years ago and look at it now. Chip for Charles. Charles is getting less and less popular, still at number 88, but it's funny because Charlotte is really high. Charles, I guess everyone went Charlie, but I just like Charles by itself. I know we've got Prince Charles, so it's just very evocative of him, but if you're Charles, I really like the nickname Chip. I think that whole thing about being a chip off the old block, it's really cute when you're just like your parents. I think it's a really fun and playful name. You could also do it for Chaplain if you weren't mad on Charles. Chaplain is a vintage name. It was an occupational name, obviously, somebody who worked at the church. So maybe a bit religious, but you've got Charlie Chaplain as well, nickname Chip. I reckon some of you might really like that. Ronnie. Ronnie is getting more and more popular every year. It's also popular for girls as well, and I really like it. I thought it could be a great nickname for a Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno in this house, but you know, Bruno, Arthur and Canto, I did a poll and people said it wouldn't put them off using the name Bruno. It might actually get it more and more in our sort of consciousness, see it coming back. It means brown. Or even Byron with the nickname Ronnie is so cool. Byron Bay, you do think of that a little bit, or Lord Byron, the writer, poet. So yeah, I really like it. Byron actually means by the cowsheds, which I randomly like. My last one is Kip, with the P, not the T, Kip. which I just think is really fun. It's got very sort of Finn vibes, being like outdoorsy. Think of Rudyard Kipling, who wrote The Jungle Book, I think. So it's a really interesting name. It's unranked at the moment. It kind of comes in and out. So you have to have 3 or 4 for it to sort of be ranked, but there's always sort of under that. Pretty much most years there might be suddenly 5 one year, then none the next year. So it's an interesting name. I wonder if it's quite divisive. To have a kip is also to have a nap, which I'm all for. I've found an unusual longer name for this, which is the name Quaid. So I know that kip starts with a kicking car and Quaid is the Q, but I was trying to find something a little bit unusual, and this came up on some vintage name lists, vintage Irish name, Quaid. Actually, there were 6 babies named Quaid last year. So Quaid, nicknamed Kip. If you fancied, you could do that jump. But Quaid actually has quite a bad meaning. It means evil or just kind of baffling, but you know, a lot of people don't care about meanings, or a lot of people actually quite like a little dark meaning. Who am I to judge you? It's just on my name list, Quaid, nickname Kip. I hope you liked the video. If you did, do hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, that really helps me. Share it with a friend who's pregnant, and add to this list in the comment section below any sort of vintage nicknames as first names that you've heard, because then we have an ultimate mega list for all the people who are naming babies. You can also find my podcast. It will be back very soon with a new series, which is Baby Name Envy, and that is a consultancy. And that is all. Bye guys.